Loki is probably one of the most recognizable gods from Norse mythology. This popularity could be due to his portrayal in the Marvel movies, among other forms of media. He's the black sheep of the Norse pantheon, probably for his inability to not be an annoying shit. Hey guys, Max here with another episode of Level Up University. I'll be continuing my analysis of the way God of War portrayed the Norse gods by seeing how accurate the representation was to the source material. Today's class will feature the most famous trickster of all time, Loki. Everything I'll be talking about will spoil the endgame, so if you don't want to get the ending spoiled, please click away. Okay, spoiler warning done, let's begin with the class. Norse Mythology 101. Today's topic will be Loki's representation in God of War. Let's get started. Loki, much to my surprise, is hinted at being Atreus, or confirmed really. At the last part of the game, after countless enemies have been slayed, many puzzles have been solved, and after having visited many worlds, our heroes make it to Jotunheim, and make a huge discovery when they see a mural that depicts all of the adventures that Kratos and Atreus have been through. We learn that Kratos' wife, Faye, was actually a giant. We also find out that the name she wanted for Atreus was Loki. It is because of this revelation that I am going to assume from this point that Atreus and Loki are one and the same. So, what does this mean for Loki's depiction in-game? It's a little shaky, but there are some aspects of the Norse tales that made it in-game. Starting with the fact that Kratos' wife Faye, which is most likely shortened from her name in Norse mythology, Laufey, is a giant, which is accurate to the Norse tales. One difference is that Loki is the son of two giants, not a giant and a god. Now, the most important connection between the game and mythology is Loki's involvement in Baldur's death. In the Norse tales, Loki is responsible for Baldur's death when he learns that mistletoe is the one thing that can harm Baldur. During a party celebrating Baldur's new and fancy invulnerability, the gods make a game out of this new power by throwing weapons and other things only to watch the items bounce right off of him with no effect. Loki makes a mistletoe dart or spear, depending on the different accounts, and he tricks a blind god into throwing the mistletoe weapon, which ultimately leads to Baldur's death. In-game, it's the tip of one of Atreus' mistletoe arrows that he receives from one of the dwarves that breaks Baldur's spell of invulnerability, and this ultimately allows Kratos to kill him. In both stories, Loki isn't actually the person doing the killing, and instead allows someone else to perform the deed. In Norse mythology, Loki is the cause of many of the problems to befall the gods, but he's also known to help them from time to time. Like the time Loki helped to retrieve Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, which had been stolen by giants. He did so by dressing up as a maid, while Thor dressed up as Freya, who the giant leader wanted to marry. Man, that would be great in the next God of War. Maybe Kratos can be the one to dress up. He can definitely wear a dress, I mean, just look at them legs. Loki also gives birth to some of the most dangerous and weirdest things in Norse mythology. Loki is the father of Hel, the queen of, Hel, Fenrir, a large wolf who was prophesied to be the end of Odin during Ragnarok, the world serpent, and Sleipnir, Odin's eight-legged horse who, in that case, he actually birthed. What? Whatever, Norse mythology, you do you. Now, this is one of the biggest liberties the game took, and it's easy to see why. I mean, I personally wouldn't be looking forward to a scene where Atreus gives birth to a freaking horse. But also concerning the world serpent, Jormungand. They got the size and menacing look of the snake right, but they changed its creation. At the beginning of the game, Freya tells us that one day the world serpent mysteriously appeared and that he battled Thor. A battle which ended in a draw, and it had remained in the lake ever since. The serpent became one of the last giants on Midgard after they were hunted down by Thor and the Aesir, and with the few survivors left fleeing to Jotunheim. Later, it is revealed to us by Mimir that a prophecy of Ragnarok states that the world serpent we see is the world serpent that will fight Thor during Ragnarok in the future. Jormungand got hit so hard by Thor that he got sent back into the past, which is very different from the Norse legends. It didn't get much development in the game more than that, which is similar to the Norse text where it only fights Thor a few times before being killed by him during Ragnarok, but not before poisoning and ultimately killing Thor. One final thing before I end the video. On the boat ride after Atreus finds out that he's part god, he's understandably hyped and asks Kratos about his powers. He asks if he can transform into a wolf. While it looks like a simple joke, it could allude to Atreus' powers in the future.
You sure I can't turn into a wolf?
Loki was known to be a shapeshifter in Norse mythology. Some of the animals he could transform into were a salmon, a horse, and a fly. But I'm sure those weren't the only animals he could change into, so I don't see why he wouldn't be able to transform into a wolf. I mean, at least in the future. And that's all the time we have for today. Hopefully I was able to teach you a few things about Loki and Norse mythology. If I taught you at least one thing, maybe consider leaving a like. If not, that's cool. But if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing as I'll be making more videos like this at least once a week. If there are any other gods in-game that you'd like to see me cover, let me know in the comments below. It doesn't have to be gods in-game either. I'll be happy to cover any gods that have the potential to appear in the next game too. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next class.